Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another One Piece video. I'm joined by my One Piece compadre, hombre, Mr. Christian Hollinger. As always, Christian, how are you doing today, brother?
Doing well.
Today, look, we're here for a theory video. We told them theories will be coming, so that's today. And we talked about it in the East Blue review about how we are both enamored with the character Monkey D. Dragon. So this will be like a character breakdown / theory video. We're going to talk some revolutionary stuff. I don't want to go heavy into Sabo, but if we do, we just do. Because I feel like you can't talk about Dragon without talking about the revolutionaries.
Right. So, I mean, the Sabo theories as of recently, that's a whole nother kind of discussion, but we can kind of talk about Grey Terminal as it pertains to, Dragon and, perhaps what his motives are.
Because, and I'm sure the Sabo theory, is going to come up because we have to talk about where we expect Dragon to go, and that comes into Sabo.
Exactly. Yeah.
So without further ado, let's get into it. What's your initial thoughts on Monkey D. Dragon?
So kind of the framework that I'm thinking, he has to be, probably within top 5 in the verse, period. With the portrayal of, obviously being Garp's son and being Monkey D. Luffy's father, he has to be up there power ranking wise. 2, the amount of knowledge that he has about the world government and the celestial dragons is very, very extensive, and you don't have that and reach the level of notoriety that you have without being taken out unless you are practically a one-man army, but he also has a ridiculously potent army.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking he's definitely top 5 in the verse.
So let's talk about that. Let's stop. Yeah. I'm going to stop you and we're going to get back to your thoughts. Yeah. Let's talk about that because that's something that's been in contention in the fan base ever since I've come into this fan base.
Right.
And for me, I agree with you. He has to be top 5. But see, to me, he might have to be, and I'm not talking dead people. I'm talking active.
Yeah, I'm talking active too.
He has to be top 3.
I was just doing something that I thought everyone can agree with. Me, I'm saying definitely top 3.
Okay.
I'm with you. This is where things can get a little bit contentious because different people have different perspectives on the Yonko versus the Admirals. I definitely think Akainu is probably top 3 as well.
Yep.
Kaido's going down this arc.
Yeah. So and also my thing is the Kaido thing. So is he can't lose 1v1, but if you get 6 niggas together, his ass going down.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, we say okay, we'll bet on Kaido 1v1, but how many people are included in that statement? I mean,
yeah, besides the 5 we saw.
Right. Akainu at this point, because we know when Kaido was looking at, and I'm not trying to turn this to a Kaido video, but when Kaido was looking at Luffy and admiring, how his ceiling kept rising, we saw those figureheads in the back. We saw Whitebeard, we saw Odin, we saw Shanks. We know that those people did not battle Kaido together. So that saying, Whitebeard could 1v1 him. Shanks could 1v1 him. Odin was right there, and we saw that if it wasn't for that trickery, he probably could have taken Kaido out as well, because I think the Scabbards were dealing with the rest of Kaido's underlings. So when we say top 3 in the verse, I'm thinking Dragon can definitely 1v1 the Dragon Kaido. I'm thinking Akainu can 1v1 Dragon. So with that being said, I
have Kaido 3rd. I'm gonna just say it. I got Kaido 3rd.
Right now I have to, especially with the anime trope of whenever you have the mysterious dad, he's always ridiculous. Whether you're looking at Hunter x Hunter with Gon's father, you look at Full Metal Alchemist with
Hohenheim. Yeah,
whenever the dad is still alive and in the verse,
Ichigo's father.
Ichigo's father. I still actually have misgivings about that because I'm still pissed off that he's like, oh yeah, I'm ridiculously powerful. I was a Soul Reaper captain. but I'm just chilling. I know you're getting your ass whooped all over the place. I could have stepped in, but whatever. But yeah, so the anime trope aside, he's got to be up there. Obviously, with him being the most wanted man, and we
And
know that
bounties
Luffy.
don't necessarily correlate, but like I'm with you. When you call someone
Yeah,
the most wanted man to me, he got to be
yeah,
number one. And something else that gets me, the fact
yeah.
that Akaino was so into Luffy just
Right.
because of Dragon. So that
Just because of that, yeah. I mean,
tells me like that's the only guy Akainu's scared of.
right. And I mean, so that actually leads into the next point that I think we both also agree. At some point, I think Dragon was in the Marines.
Let's talk about it. Let's get into it.
So top, he's definitely either top one or top two. He'll probably be dethroned soon, but I'm thinking top two. I'm not going to say top one yet. But with that being said, Akainu has a very specific kind of opinion about Dragon. And we know that Luffy got, a lot of leeway being Garp's grandson. Like, Aokiji was kind of like, hey, I'm going to kind of chill on account of, you're Garp's grandson. But then when everyone's like, oh, you're Dragon's son, oh, no, screw that. You have to die. Like, that is immediately ace level. Your father was the Pirate King. You have to be expunged from this world.
And see, the person who said that was Akainu specifically. And to me, because we both do agree, this is going into our theory portion of this. I do agree that Dragon had to be in the Marines. Like he had to, for just the knowledge that he has. There's no way he was just born from Garp, was living in the East Blue, and then was like, okay, I'm just gonna turn into a revolutionary. He either had to be with Garp, like always as a kid, and saw something, or he had to be a Marine. And I like the idea of Garp training Aokiji, but not training Dragon, where Dragon and Akainu were kind of partners.
Right. I see it because you have, I guess at this point, we kind of have to make the assumption that Dragon and Akainu, as you said, were partners at one point, because Akainu's absolute justice completely contradicts what Dragon stands for. So,
but Dragon's is also kind of an absolute in himself, and that's why.
That's what I mean.
Okay, cool.
They juxtapose each other, but at some point, it seems like there was a split, and I think that somehow Akainu justified, even though we do see Akainu kind of talk shit to the celestial dragons to a degree. It seems like at some point Akainu was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to still follow this absolute justice that the celestial dragons set. And Dragon's like, no, I've seen this up close, up personal. I can't do it. And we know that Garp thinks that the celestial dragons are crap. So, he kind of still walks that line a little bit where he's like, okay, well, I know they're shit, so I'm going to kind of do what I want to do. I'm definitely not going to, I'm not going to allow myself to exceed Vice Admiral, because then I become direct subordinates to them. Whereas Dragon's like, I want absolutely nothing to do with any of this. I want to tear it all apart. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no way Dragon dropped off. Obviously Dragon's probably as older than Dodon. So there's no way that Garp dropped off his son and
somewhere,
mountain bandits raise him. And we still don't know
all the mother figures.
Yeah.
And to that point, not to cut you off, but it makes sense when you look at, speaking of us talking about East Blue, when Dragon's like, oh, he chose to be a pirate, that's acceptable because it's not necessary. It has nothing to do with the world government. And it makes even more sense why Garp didn't push Luffy that way, because maybe he had experience pushing a child one way and it went horribly wrong.
Exactly. I mean, Garp was obviously upset that Luffy and Ace chose to become pirates, but it's almost like he didn't really try and stop them too much. He kind of, hit them on the head and was like, no, you're going to become Marines. But it's kind of like, I'm not going to force you. I could take you to the Marine base and raise you as Marines if I'm trying to, show my hand and force you to do this.
Yeah, I feel like he
I
did
would
that
have
with
never
Dragon.
let you, even get in the position to meet Red Hair. I could have just raised you myself within the Marines, and he did not do that. So I think that he made that mistake with his son, and he said, "No, I'm not doing that." So,
and then Dragon probably wouldn't have let him do that with Luffy either.
Oh yeah, Dragon would probably have kidnapped him and been like, "Nah."
Yeah.
So I love what you were referring to in East Blue, where he's like, "All right, you're a pirate." Maybe he was having hopes of recruiting his son someday without being too forceful either. But he was like, "All right, well, you're going against the grain of the way that the world works right now, so I'm good with that." So I think that works out.
And you got to think Dragon was at Goldie Rogers' execution.
Yeah.
Does Dragon know about the pornoglyphs? Does Dragon know about the Will of D? If so, then that's even more so why he said, "Oh, you're a pirate. That's admirable," because maybe Luffy's the guy to carry on Rogers' will.
Right. I definitely believe that. As of right now, the only people that we know definitively know what the Will of D are seems to be the Gold Roger pirates, who discovered the secrets of the entire world. Odin's written down stuff in his journal. So we see Yamato is referencing the Will of D.
Whitebeard
so there's no doubt. Whitebeard, yeah, but he was told by Roger.
Yeah, by Roger. Yeah, yeah.
To me, there's no way that Dragon doesn't know about the poneglyphs. Now, does he have a poneglyph? I doubt it. Does he have copies? Perhaps. Is he going after Raftel? I doubt that.
I doubt that as well.
So he probably, has other poneglyphs, because we know that there's poneglyphs, the road poneglyphs that lead to Raftel, but there's other miscellaneous poneglyphs that may contain other informations. But it seems as though he's more about, again, like his son, liberation and freedom, and he's going about it in his own, demeanor. Luffy lives his life where he's free, his Nakama are free, and he enjoys being around others who are free. But Dragon is on a mission to free the world. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, I think it's impossible for him not to know about the poneglyphs, especially if he came and he saw Gold Rogers. Gold Rogers. I always want to say Gold Roger. Gold Rogers execution. So yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if Dragon had the missing poneglyph. Now, I'm not putting like in our headcanon theory, but this is just like a side thing. It would make sense for story Luffy wise to encounter his dad after he encounters his. Whether Shanks comes first or Dragon comes first, but it makes sense if he encounters his fake dad, Shanks, and then to get to Raftel, he has to encounter his real dad.
Yeah. I can also see that in addition, because the fascination that it seems that, Dragon has with Roger almost seems like maybe he even ran into him at some point. And
that could be the thing as a Marine.
Right. He can, he might be some kind of gatekeeper. If we know that Roger entrusted Ace to Garp, he might be like, okay, well, I'm entrusting this last poneglyph or its location or, the information pertaining to it
to you,
to Dragon, because I met up with him and I like what he's about. And he's more free than Garp is. Garp is still tethered to the Marines.
Yeah, I can't trust Garp with this information because that's asking too much of him, and I value his friendship. Whereas Dragon is a different type of friend in the sense that Garp might have been more of Roger's friend, but Dragon was more so someone he saw as leading to the future that Goldie Roger wanted to happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, to your earlier point about them meeting, that's something that's very interesting, because it almost seems like he's not interested in Luffy after, the East Blue saga. But we do know that it's because Sabo has been telling him so much about Luffy that it's at a point where he's kind of almost tired of hearing about that information. And obviously he keeps up with the news. So
and also he reads the paper himself, because we know that Ivankov's like gushing over your son. And it's like, he cares.
Like over him. He's like, all right. Kuma, no doubt, I think was sent perhaps by Dragon
Yes,
to
I
test
agree.
Luffy at Thriller Bark. And that also probably leads to
Him
why Kuma
saving Luffy.
protected the Sunny
Yep.
for as long as he did.
Because that's not Sabo. Because we have to remember, Sabo got his memory back like when he found out Ace died, and I don't think Sabo has the authority to send Kuma anywhere because the way it seems like Sabo thought that Kuma got kidnapped by the world government, whereas I feel like Dragon sent him on that mission to go infiltrate.
Right.
And that ties into what you're saying about protecting the Sunny and then go do what you got to do with the world government, but just help my son out because I can't do it because I can't make that move right now.
Right. And, and I bring that back to, just as a short tangent, because again, this is a Dragon video, but when you think about that Thriller Bark test, Kuma, I believe, was truly, truly impressed with Zoro and Sanji by saying, okay, like Dragon, you have found yourself very, very good allies. So he tested whoever was going to, stand up, whether it had been Sanji, whether it had been Zoro, and he pushed them to the brink. But at the same time, we see that like Kuma didn't stick around.
He could have killed him if he wanted. Yeah,
he could have killed him. But it's like the sense is like I don't even think Kuma like waited for Zoro to deal with all of the pain. I think he just said like, okay, I'm gonna watch you jump into the bubble, and then he kind of just like left. Yeah. And was like, I mean, if you survive, you survive. Now I do think that he was able to gauge Zoro properly, where he's like, I'm gonna leave you on death's door, but I'm not going to kill you. And then again, in doing that, he completely healed Luffy. So again, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a test, but you saved your commander's son and brought him back to perfect health. So
and you made his subordinate stronger.
Right. And then on top of that, he's cool enough to go and whisper to Rayleigh, like, this is my plan. I sent, later, I sent all the Straw Hats to places where they can level up. And Rayleigh's like, oh, bet. That was an excellent idea. So Kuma having that level of authority, knowing how to talk to people, like even Rayleigh, infiltrating the Celestial Dragons and the world government the way that he had, having the relationship with Vegapunk, seems to be from all these connections that he probably got from Dragon.
And speaking of Vegapunk, the fact that Vegapunk programmed Kuma leads me to believe that Dragon has a tie with Vegapunk.
That's another part of the theory. There's no reason to me that Vegapunk would be completely loyal to the world government if he was like, yeah, I'm going to allow you to protect the Sunny, who is, the main ship of these major pirates that have been a thorn in the world government, and not tell the world government, not leave any kind of clues that this is what he allowed Kuma to do, unless Vegapunk is either an enigma of himself, or he just does whatever he feels like doing, and that means he's not loyal to anyone, or he has a very vested interest in Dragon. And so I'm under the impression that Dragon's got his fingers everywhere, as the revolutionaries should.
Yeah.
So to have connections in all the ways that Dragon seems to have connections, this guy has to know pretty much everything, almost like Doflamingo level, the way that Doflamingo threatened the Celestial Dragons. And he's like, look, I know a whole bunch of stuff. Y'all can't touch me. And they were like, yeah, you're not even a Celestial Dragon anymore, but you kind of are. We're not going to mess with you. Dragon knows so much that I think people are like, look, we can't really touch you.
Also, back to the point of everything you're saying about how Dragon has all this knowledge, and Kuma sending specific Straw Hats certain places, and to our side theory of Dragon may have the knowledge that Roger wants to give out to whoever's the right candidate.
Right.
Very interesting that Nico Robin went to Dragon and trained under her.
Right.
Under him, yeah.
That's another thing that that's for a Robin video, because I'm very confused as to how Robin was under the revolutionaries and she's still underutilized. So I don't know what Oda's.
See, that's why I feel like the Robin arc is coming. I feel like all of that's coming now.
It has to. It has to. There's no way she spent that much time and she is not like ridiculous right now. So she has to know a whole bunch. And part of it, I think that she knows more than she's letting on, and she just knows that her captain wants to experience this, so she's not going to tell him everything that she knows.
But she's going to help him get to that point.
Get to that point, right? So, not to mention, Robin probably knows a whole bunch of stuff that she shared with Dragon that perhaps Dragon didn't know. Like, she knows all the stuff about, I believe, Pluton from Alabasta. Maybe Dragon doesn't know that stuff, so she shared that information with Dragon. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dragon has an ancient weapon at his disposal. Now, granted, as of right now, it seems as though the ancient weapons are Shirahoshi and perhaps Zunisha, and Momonosuke is the only one who can control Zunisha at the moment. But at the same time,
we still don't know what Uranus is.
We don't know if all the weapons happen to be, like Sea Kings and massive animals. So it could be anything else. Frankie has the blueprints for Pluton in his head at this point. So, or was it Uranus?
No, it's Pluton.
It's Pluton. Okay.
Yeah.
So for all we know, Dragon has ancient weapons at his disposal. So, to tether onto that, I'm saying, he's top, 2 in the verse. We went back during East Blue. We looked at a whole bunch of the weather effects that we saw. And when I rewatched it, it seems like Dragon may be one of the characters with future sight, because I'll take, again, that the heavens, protected Luffy, but I'm really under the impression that was Dragon. He knew where his son was going to be. He knew his son was made of rubber. So he was like, all right, I'm going to set up this weather storm, and I'm going to strike Buggy down with lightning. Luffy's going to be fine. Smoker's going to appear. He's going to grapple him, and I'm going to take Smoker down. So, and then he disappears. So there's definitely, in my opinion, future sight going on there, which makes sense, again, because we see, I'm not saying that all hockey is like hereditary, but when Luffy showcased Conqueror's hockey at Marineford, we see Garp says, so he has it too, or he inherited it too. So I don't know if it's been confirmed that Garp has Conqueror's hockey. I believe he does.
From
he
that saying,
the only Marines who has it.
Yeah. I could see it to where Garp doesn't have it, but Dragon has it. Yeah. Either way, one of them has it.
Because here's the thing. So we don't know any Marines who have Conqueror's hockey. It seems like that's more of the pirates or someone who goes against the world government.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that Garp doesn't have it, but he knows that his son has it. And so he's like, okay, Luffy inherited that from his father. He's just like, he's potentially just as dangerous as my son. So there's something interesting going on there, and I would not doubt that Dragon has supreme conquerors. He's literally the king of the revolutionaries. The revolutionaries have X number of bases.
Yep.
They have their hands everywhere. That's a whole army. That's a whole nation, essentially. So Dragon is a king, no doubt. So from that perspective, if Dragon has Conqueror's hockey, future sight, I have no doubt he's an awakened devil fruit user.
And then we could believe that, and I like to believe that, okay, he has the future sight, he has Conquerors, his armament might not be that strong, but Luffy gets that from Garp. Right. And that's where you tie it in. Also, you said awakened devil fruit user. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Weather fruit, wind. Where you can see, if I think wind, I'd like to believe that awaken means he can control like the clouds and start to get all of the weather. But if it's wind, that makes sense why Smoker didn't want to fight him, because Smoker is smoke. Dragon is the elevated form of that fruit. And we know that there's elevated forms of certain fruits, where Monet, the elevated form is Aokiji, the elevated form of Smoker. I know some people would say is fire, but I look at fire as the base and the elevated form is magma. Smoke was the elevated form of that, wind.
Right. So I'm not sure yet. When I saw all the showings of him perhaps using his power, it seems to focus on like almost these green wind waves. And we saw
and that makes sense why he would disappear so fast, because he just flies into the wind. He just poofs away. Yeah.
So I think it's more wind. Not to jump anime again, but even with wind, we know that he can still affect things like the weather. So, when you look at, Naruto, Sasuke was able to use Karen by, using his fire dragon jutsu, fire dragon, dragon again, to cause, the environment to rapidly heat up, causing those storm clouds to show up, which then allowed him to manipulate, lightning.
And then
So
wind trails can blow into clouds, and exactly.
Right. So if Dragon is able to use his wind to gather nimbulous clouds, I don't know the science of this, but gather clouds and then cause a environmental situation that causes a discharge of lightning, then you can say, okay, well, he's a awakened wind user, which allows him to effectively use the weather as he chooses without being a weather user per se. So I'm leaning towards he's wind.
Same.
Which also, makes him very hard. I mean, that's like what? Almost as dangerous as like a literal water devil fruit. Because it's like
he can just
unlike Smoker,
disappear. Yeah, that's the thing.
Unlike Smoker, like how do you actually grasp like the wind? Like smoke, again, not to go into too many scientific explanations, but smoke is still matter.
Yeah.
It's just particulates. It's very, very small particulates of matter. Wind is not really matter. So it's like
it's even really thinned out form of smoke, like where smoke has all these other particles in it that makes it more tangible. Wind is just atoms that are stretched out a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's like you can gather Smoker's entire body essentially and like fit it inside of a jar. Can you fit wind in a jar? Not really. So Smoker kind of has this drawback of like anytime that he's going against someone who has hockey and can touch his real body, the more that he expands his body, the bigger target he is. I don't know if that would affect Dragon the same way. So Dragon might be able to affect a very large area of effect without having that drawback of, okay, I can just randomly punch to the side and I hit your body.
Also, he can stretch himself so thin to where he's expanded so far, but he can also go super precise with wind.
Right. And we know again, like water, like other elements, over time and with great winds, you can weather down anything.
Yep.
So I mean, we've seen this before. That's just ridiculous, and as far as I'm concerned, I think that makes sense. A wind Logia would be.
Also, if we like to look at the fact of looking at the three main admirals, if we look at the Mad Dog, the bird or whatever, which
the blue bird, the ice bird,
and then I forget what
he's a monkey.
Okay, he's the monkey, and then the other version of that in the lore is a dragon, a green, and then he's green, represents that wind. I just think it works.
I mean, he got the green one finally got replaced with Green Bull, so it does make sense. Fujitora is the purple tiger, if I remember correctly. So being a green dragon still goes into that mythology with the purple dragon. You've got the purple tiger being opposed to the green dragon, perhaps. So it makes sense from that perspective. And we know that, Dragon's cloak is green. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm connecting that to, the wind.
Yeah.
So without a doubt, as far as I'm concerned, of course I could be wrong because Oda's a freaking genius, but my bets are on wind.
Same. So we got a little bit of his backstory. We both think he's Marines. We got his power, which we think is wind. Where do we think he's going in the future? Now, this comes into Sabo, whether or not you believe Sabo is captured or Sabo has committed an atrocity of murder and it's framed. Where do you think this goes with Dragon? See, I don't like to believe he's captured because I feel like that's just a retread of Ace. And the only difference would be Luffy would save him this time, therefore correcting his wrong. I feel like Oda's a better storyteller than that, so Sabo may be on the run. That's what I like to believe, where he's framed for the murder of Cobra.
Yeah. As you just said, I think anyone with half a brain would have came up with, Ace 2.0, but Luffy's going to save him this time. So that's way too predictable. Whereas there's
And you can't kill
speculation that,
him.
yeah, oh no, you can't do that. There'd be no point in killing off two of Luffy's brothers and
And one
two of
off
the Mera
screen.
Mera no Mi users
Yeah.
for no, that's not happening. Ace never really showed proficiency with hockey. Sabo has Rio. No, he's not dead. He's not going to die. We have the Onigashima War, which is supposed to bring Marine Fort 2.0. So I'm not sensing a public execution with Marine 3.0. That should be the Great War that Whitebeard spoke about whenever they find the One Piece. So from that perspective, I think that what's Vivi's dad's name?
Oh, Cobra.
Cobra. I think Cobra may have kicked the bucket and
Definitely.
being framed on Sabo. So with that being said, Dragon did say we have to confirm some things before we go into motion. But with Sabo effectively being the number two, I don't see Dragon just allowing something like that to happen. So I do see him going to get Sabo if he can find him. Surely there's a Viva card set up, so that should be the case. But I'm also of the same opinion. Sabo would probably need to be on the run. And as revolutionaries, I have no doubt that Sabo has a skill set to stay undercover for a while.
Yep. And that's why Dragon has to go get him, because he knows the secret things of what Sabo would do, more so than anybody else going to get him, because Dragon taught him himself personally. Right. So, okay, so we're on the same mind of that. Do you believe Dragon dies end of series? And where do you feel that Dragon, his story commences? Because we do both understand that Luffy and his will cross path with the final war, but I don't think Dragon's fighting Eam. I don't like to believe he's fighting a Kainu, because I feel like that's more so Sabo and Luffy's fight, and maybe less Luffy than Sabo, because I don't really know where I think Luffy's gonna go in this final battle. Of course, he could fight a Kainu, but where do we think Dragon fits in to finish off his story?
Well, to actually go contrary to you for the first time in this video,
go ahead.
I'm thinking that if Dragon's gonna die, it has to be Im-sama, because one, that seems to be more so his arch rival. Luffy has no idea who this is yet. This is obviously probably a bigger final boss than Blackbeard. We all know Blackbeard is Luffy's essential, final boss. Im-sama is the final boss of the entire series, in my opinion. But Dragon's death would not, at this point, negatively impact Luffy at any degree. Like, Luffy doesn't really give a shit about his father. Like, he's like, okay, whatever.
I don't know him. Yeah,
I don't know him. He doesn't mean anything to me. So I believe that when they meet up, of course, that's going to change a bit. I think that they have very similar tendencies. I love the humorous moment when Garp confronts him and tells him about his father, and they both end up falling asleep. And then Garp wakes up and is like, "How dare you fall asleep?" So I expect Garp and Luffy to have similarities, and I expect them to kind of bond over that. But at the same time, how much bonding can you do? We've gone 1,000 chapters, and Luffy doesn't really care about his father. Granted, he doesn't even seem to know any of his parents. We don't even know who Dragon procreated with. So,
and the theory that people saying Eam might be his mom, I'm not buying that yet. But
I'm not buying it either yet, especially because Eam's out here, cutting up Luffy's poster.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be the first time that we have a parent, killing.
But again, we both think Oda's a better writer than that, because that's pretty easy.
I don't see that. I don't see it yet. And whoever Eam is, I think that's going to be tethered in some shape or form to Mihawk and Zanisha, and possibly Cursed Swords, because Cavendish and Hakuba seem to have created that eye whenever they're under that scenario. But those are the only characters who we've seen with the eye. So those concentric circle eyes, I believe, are tethered in some way. Now, I'm not saying that Eam is related to Mihawk, because personally, that's a whole nother theory, and I have my own thoughts of who Mihawk is related to. But I don't think that that's Luffy's mom. I could be wrong. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But if Dragon's going to die, I don't think it's going to be to any of the admirals. And his enemy would be effectively either Zebek if he's still alive, or
Now I
Imu.
could see him fighting the Gorosei if Imu's
I
not
can
a
see that
fighter
too. Yeah.
of Gandhi with the blade, with the which we believe is the first Katetsu. I could see him fighting one of them.
Yeah, I can see that. But even then, I'm a little bit confused because we know next to nothing about them. I believe they would not be in that position without having major combat power and
That's
major
my thing. And you
combat
don't have
prowess.
Oda hasn't put someone with a sword if they couldn't fight.
Right. So, it's also very interesting because it's like, people do know that the Gorosei exist to a degree. So, would Gandhi really be okay with other people having the title of world's greatest swordsman? Now, we haven't seen Gandhi's blade, so I would not be surprised if he also has a black blade, making him the third of, the One Piece mythos of having black blades, not counting Zoro, his potential. So I don't know what the other four Gorosei can do. Maybe they got real hands. I believe it. Maybe they all have mythical devil fruits that are broken. I believe it, but I don't know yet. So I can see that too. But if he's gonna die, which is hard because again, One Piece only kills off characters who have a strong emotional tether to someone to
Yep.
some degree. To me, I would say, okay, this might get some hate, but I wasn't really swayed by Pedro's death, to be honest.
Me neither. I think that was the weakest one.
That was the weakest one. So I just, if Dragon dies, who's really hurt by that?
Sabo. That's the only Sabo and Ivankov.
Yeah, but Sabo's introduced so late that it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, Ace died. I kind of felt bad for him then, because like, okay, well, you had memory loss, so then you had to remember through a traumatic experience. Dragon dying, he's kind of like Sabo's adopted father, and since Sabo is, Luffy's brother, that does make Dragon paternal. We do know that Sabo cursed his own parents and his upbringing, and that's what really tethered Dragon to him, because he literally was like, finally, a royal was made to say this. So it would hurt Sabo most, but it's like Sabo isn't anywhere
Important
really
enough.
near the main character. So it's like, okay, so who's really hurt by that? I don't know, and I don't see.
It could be said that the world is hurt by that. All the nations that, it's just like how when Whitebeard died, pirate world was affected by that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But by that point, by the time that Dragon's time to die would be, I really feel as though Luffy would have probably taken responsibility for a lot of the kingdoms and islands around there. So the hope of what are we going to do? We've lost Whitebeard, now we've lost Dragon. The hopes would be, okay, well, we all know Luffy is Dragon's son now. It's world
on
news.
him.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, we still have Luffy.
Also, I'm thinking if Dragon does die, I feel it's for the progression of ending the tenure Ryubitu system.
Right.
Like, I think if he's gonna die, it's not for anyone except to move the Celestial Dragon ending forward.
Right. And I would not be surprised if, as you just said, Celestial Dragons, Monkey D. Dragon, if there's a dragon correlation here, just in the name, I would not be surprised if that's who, leads to Dragon's end. is another type of dragon, like the celestial dragons. So I buy that. I don't know though about death flags. Like I haven't really gotten the sense of death flags from dragons.
Oh, it's too early.
Which is hilarious to say 1,000 chapters in. But yeah, it's definitely too early. I wonder how much he knows about Joy Boy and the frozen hat that Emu has, because with Robin being there and possibly having red poneglyphs for him, with the information that we speculate he knows from Roger, there's no doubt that Dragon has to be interested in the Void Sentry. So I would not be surprised if he has, knowledge of the Void. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was legitimately a copy of Odin's notes and Dragon has it. So
even more so why he thinks Luffy being a pirate is admirable. He doesn't want to put it on his son that he's Joy Boy, but if he knows about the Will of D, he knows it's possible.
Right. And if he knows about, the Void Sentry and he is connected in any way, because it seems as though the Straw Hat is somehow related to the D Clan. There's no reason why Roger would have had a Straw Hat. Joy Boy seems to have had a Straw Hat. And they look identical. They're just different sizes. And so the theory there that I believe the fandom kind of accepts is that the D Clan is somehow related to, the ancient kingdoms that the Tenryubito came from. And they are the ones who separated along with, the people in Alabasta at some level. And those are the ones with the straw hat. So if Dragon saw his son and he's like, he has a straw hat. Okay, you're a pirate. Okay, yeah, you've definitely inherited the proper will of D. You are essentially the reincarnation of Joy Boy. That's fine.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we know that Joy Boy has a correlation to Shirahoshi and the Fishman Island. So I'm seeing those pieces go together. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel like, to finish this video off, Dragon's future, of course, taking down the Tenryu B2 system. Do we see Dragon fighting Akainu to finish this off, just to go back and rekindle that rivalry?
I can see
or Kong.
Yeah. Well, that's actually interesting because I don't know what the correlation with Kong is. I know that Kong
is still in charge.
He's still in charge. And he's the one who originally was like, hey, Garp, I want you to be Fleet Admiral before Sengoku, before anyone else. And it was Garp who was like, hey, F off. I'm not doing it. But with that being said, the name Kong and Monkey, I've been speculating on something with that. So I could see that. But if anything, I would expect a skirmish. I'm with you on that Sabo.
Yeah,
I kind of hope Luffy, decks the shit out of Akainu, but that's Sabo who needs to, show him that the flame fruit is now superior to your magma fruit.
Yep.
So I don't see anything more than perhaps a skirmish. I wouldn't even be surprised if Dragon, unironically, just goes circles around Akainu, just cools off his magma with the wind, and it's you can't even touch me, Akainu.
You're still not ready for this class.
You're still not ready.
But
hey, Sabo,
but here's Sabo. Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
You're still and Akainu being pissed off because he's like, you're right here. You're in my grips. And Dragon's like, no, I'm not.
Nah, I'm not. Yeah, exactly. We're going to have to do a part 2 for this at some point once we know more about Dragon. But I feel like we've covered enough for today. We got our baseline thoughts out. Tell the people where they can find you at on social media.
Yep. So Twitter, Instagram, Art Season, ARCHSZN. If you want to see my graphic content, it's going to be Design Season LLC on Twitter and on Instagram as well.
So y'all make sure y'all go follow Christian. If you haven't checked out our East Blue Saga review, check that out. But the next time you hear from us, we'll be reviewing chapter 1005. Super excited for that. But until then, make sure you subscribe Join the Discord. Link is in the description. You can come talk with me and Christian all the time about One Piece and the rest of our community. Bros Who Think community. It's super fire in there. Join that. But other than that, we'll talk to you again for the review. Until then, peace.
Peace.